Today we are painting Christmas cards, and these are my favorites, but I am so excited. I'm going to show you, I think, 6 different ones, and then the 7th one I want you to help me with. But I pretty much made a mistake on every single one of these, and so I'm going to walk you through what I would have done differently and how I fixed my mistakes. I found these A2 cards from Dollar Tree, so 10 of them with envelopes for $1.25. And I love that they're kind of like the brown paper bag. It reminds me of The Sound of Music, a few of my favorite things, brown paper packages tied up with strings. So I tried those because they did have white as well. So if you prefer that, you could do it. But I wanted to try something different. And so I ended up cutting my paper to about 4 by 4.5 inches or smaller. And then I started tearing them because I had seen this done to give it a little bit of a different look. And this was really hard for me because I don't like wasting. And so I felt like either I was going to mess them up or I was just wasting the edges that I was tearing off. So I ended up keeping some of the bigger pieces to use for swatches to get certain colors right and test them out before I actually use them on a painting. So I'm kind of crazy like that, but I'm also excited about it now. But I did recycle a few of the smaller pieces. I also just tore them by hand, and I will link to the cutter that I use, but I wanted a smaller cutter because I didn't want it to be very heavy or take up a lot of space. And I did leave some of them with a straight edge just in case I liked those better. So I made sure that the sizes were all okay, and then I started painting. So I taped down a line for this first one of houses because I had painted another one and the bottom was kind of uneven and jagged. So I wanted this one to be a little more crisp and straight. So I put down a piece of washi tape, and this wasn't to tape down the border or the edges. It was just to give me a straight line with these houses. So I made the houses varying heights and widths and colors, but I kept them all pretty muted. And I actually didn't love it. I did try to make it centered. I also did the roof a different color to make that stand out in different shapes. And then I set that one aside and started on this wreath. I went a lot slower. Probably doing all 7 of these took me about 2 hours, but you could just put on some music and you don't have to do them all in one sitting. That was just more convenient for me, especially for recording this video. You could just do one a day. I also took longer because I was kind of figuring out these ideas and how I wanted them to look and wasn't sure if they were going to turn out. So I started this wreath, and I really did want to keep it fairly simple. And honestly, the ones I liked the best were the ones that I kept fairly simple. So I did a grayish green. So some green with a little black in it. And then I also did kind of a dusty blue, which is similar, just a blue with a little bit of black in it. So the little bow at the bottom was blue, and then the kind of berries and flowers at the top connecting it were also that blue color. And then you will see that I am not the best at centering or making sure my lettering looks great from the start. I don't really plan it out. So that's a lot of what I messed up throughout these cards. And I also want to talk about lettering because I used to hate my handwriting, and I still don't love it if I'm just writing really fast. But there were like 2 or 3 things that really helped me to at least be able to like my handwriting sometimes. And the first thing was to just focus on changing a single letter. So I noticed this girl had amazing handwriting, and I was like, how do you do that? And she was like, I don't know. And I'm like, that's not helpful. But once I heard someone else say to just change one letter at a time, I realized I really loved the way she wrote her E's. So that was the only thing I focused on changing. I really like them with a straight line parallel with the line on the paper, whereas I used to do mine angled all the time. So I started doing that, and you'll see it in Mary when I write it. And it was crazy how much it would change the look of the whole word that had an E in it. And then the second one was to focus on a style. So either making the letters really elongated and skinny, so tall and skinny letters, or making them bouncy. So like every other letter swoop down. Or I'll use this one on these cards where I leave a longer space between each letter, because I have had these books that are all about hand lettering and practicing hand lettering. And I'm like, no, I just want to sort of practice while I'm actually making my to-do list, not just writing the same letter over and over and just throwing it away. So I want to be able to use it in my own journal and that kind of thing. So when they also have said things like go slow or pick up your brush after every stroke and stuff like that, I'm like, that's so not practical for me. But I'm not patient enough for that, or not dedicated enough to that. Like, this is just a small part of what I do. If you're kind of like that, then just try these simple things that you can incorporate to your everyday handwriting. I don't want you to be like too intimidated by the hand lettering aspect of it if you are coming just for the paintings. But I do think that it makes a big difference to add. And so I did get better at knowing how much space each word would take up. So I did get better at centering towards the end. And also, I ended up just doing things like I put the year after Merry Christmas to finish out the line, which isn't my favorite. And I don't know if I should have just left some spaces in there, but it worked. It made it better than just nothing. And then I also would add some dots to kind of make it look less bumpy or distract from that, or less uneven. Oh, I also painted this wreath, which is like a wreath that I have hanging in my home. And it started off looking rough. I was kind of scared of this one, but drawing the circle in brown really helped to know where to go. And I first started with just a single line circle, and then I ended up filling it in and making it thicker to know where to place the different pieces. And it really just came together the more I went with it, and just kept adding berries or whatever it is and branches. And then I also wrote Mary like 7 times inside of this wreath, and that did end up making it too busy for me. And I wonder if I just wrote one of them in green, but I don't know which one to put in green. Or maybe if I did like 3 of them in green and kind of alternate, like if I go back over it, if that would make it a little better to break up all of that red and brown right there. But then I had fun practicing different styles of handwriting, so it kind of worked out. It gave me ideas for the next few cards that I did. I still liked it better than just having a very off-centered Mary right there. So instead it's like Merry, 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 Merry Christmas. This is also where I started using my colorful pens, like the ink is colored. And I really liked that. Sometimes I think the black is a little too harsh, but other times I love the contrast of the black. But I really liked having this green and then kind of a light orangey brown and a burgundy-ish, pinkish red color. And I had never done those with my watercolor paintings before, but I really liked it. If I had it to do over, I almost think I would just paint this red car over and over again. I loved it so much, and I think I would make small adjustments to make me like it even more, or even just switch to a red truck with a tree in the back and that kind of thing. So this one was a lot of fun, and I really liked how it turned out. I'm not sure about the placement of the words. Like, should I have done Mary closer to the car or what? I don't know. But I would love to play around with that one. Maybe do one horizontal if I did the truck. I also might do the houses multiple times. It was simple and turned out great. I'm also trying to use up the paint that I have on a specific palette. And so I could just paint these over and over and over again. But I wanted to try a few different types and see which ones I liked and were worth doing over and over again. And you could also do these just on watercolor paper and fold it over. I've done that before. Fold it into a card. And sometimes I'll paint on the back as well. Just a cute little design, maybe a bouquet or a small little forest. That's kind of fun. And then just write on the inside of the watercolor paper. This red did look a little pink to me as it was drying, so I added some brown to give it a little more color and also more of a rustic look instead of shiny new red. I did add a small trunk with the brown pen that I have, and that's because I didn't have my super detailed brush beside me, so sometimes it would spread and just be too much and I wouldn't like it. So having that pen was pretty helpful for that, but you can do it with just paint. This is the point where I was a lot better with my handwriting and centering. So that's part of why I think I like how it turned out. This next one, it's so embarrassing because I was counting it up over and over and was like, okay, there's one letter per box for Mary. And so I started out writing a Y on the last one. And sure enough, I finally realized that Mary only has 5 letters instead of 6. So I ended up turning the Y into part of the decoration on the present. And I actually really like how it turned out. So it was fine, but so funny. And then I did want to do one that just said Happy Holidays. I feel like this one ended up just too busy. I kind of used a scrap piece of paper, not scrap, but I already had this one painted and it just happened to be the right size and everything. But I kind of don't like how I wrote Happy Holidays in between the boxes because it all just looks like it's too close together. So maybe I would have just made the boxes smaller and still written it in between in those spaces. Okay, this is the one I really need help with. What is going on? I tried so much to fix this tree and then I ended up tearing it off because I hated it so much, but I liked my handwriting. And then I looked at it later and was like, oh, that wasn't so bad. So should I just tape it back together? Or is there a way to fix this? Or should I cover it in washi tape and just make a Christmas tree shape out of tape? I don't know. Or just I tried like adding a different painting to it or drawing my own on the brown paper, like so many things I tried. What do you think? Which one do you like the best? Or, I mean, should I completely scrap it? I just don't know. I'm interested to see what you have to say about this one. And especially looking at it as a group, I like having a tree there as one of the options. But if I mail these out, they're not going to get all of them. They're just going to see the one. And I feel like that's me, like, oh, you get the dud of the bunch. Also, that reminds me, I would like to send these out to people. So let me know in the comments if you would like for me to write you a note on one of these Christmas cards and mail it out to you. Leave a comment and let me know. And you can email me at livingtinydreamingbig@gmail.com. And just let me know, because I don't always check that email, which is why I'm okay with putting it on YouTube. But I thought that could be fun. I love mail, and I like getting something other than junk mail sometimes. And if we haven't met yet, my name is Megan, by the way. Nice to meet you. I actually love Thanksgiving, so I don't want you to feel like I'm just skipping over that. I'm actually doing a challenge for myself to paint something I'm grateful for every day for the month of November. So if you want to join me, you could do just one thing a week, or you could kind of do a couple of things a day to make up for the ones that have already gone by. But it's super fun. So I'm posting a picture each day in my community tab, but I'm also doing some shorts to show several of them at one time. Yeah, so I'll just show a few here now. This has been really fun, and I'm painting stuff that I never would have painted before and finding things that I really enjoy painting, and it's like low-key because it's just in my cheap little sketchbook, so it doesn't take a lot of time. It doesn't take a lot of expensive products. It doesn't take too much thought, because if it messes up, then that's okay. But it still serves the purpose of getting me to think about what I'm grateful for. And I love it because I think about it while I'm planning what I'm going to paint. I'm like, oh, what am I really grateful for today? And then it helps me while I'm painting to be like, oh, I do love this and I am grateful for this. And then when I'm posting about it, I kind of type up why I'm grateful for it and why I chose it for this day and why I love it. So I hope you'll join me, or at least follow along, and hopefully be inspired by the things that I'm grateful for and my little paintings of them. So